Hi guys, welcome to another series of the corset sewing, and we are working on the top part of the corset. We're just going to go ahead to start stitching. So I'm pinning my corsets together, both the center front and the sides, and I ensure that my net fabric is doubled so that it is strong and very good. So this is what I have stitched. I stitched 1/2 inch for my sewing allowance, and I made sure that I stitched on the outer part of the corset, not the inner part. I'm just going to go ahead to trim it by 2/8 of an inch, very tiny, because I won't be needing that much allowance for my corset. So I'm trimming every part of the corset that I have sewn, just like so. So this is it. This is what it looks like. So this is the front part of the corset, like I mentioned, that I've stitched. The next thing that I'm going to do is add my fabric and my boning. So notice how I placed my boning. I'm placing my boning and making sure that it's the curvy part that is going to be stitched right on the fabric. So if you look at that boning, make sure that it is the part that really curves outwards that you're stitching, not the other way around. So I've wrapped my fabric around my boning and I am stitching one side of the fabric on the corset. So this is what it looks like at the back. The next thing I'm going to do is just fold in the remaining parts of the fabric, because I'm just trying to make like single strands on each of the parts that I have sewn on my corset, and each strand is going to be 1 inch. So I'm just folding in the fabric to ensure that whatever is going to be there would be 1 inch. You can do yours 1/2 inch or 3/4. I'm going to use my measuring tape to measure to be certain that it is 1 inch, and then what I'm going to do next is go right to stitch on the other part of the strand that I have created, just like so. So this is what it should look like when you are done stitching. So you want to, and that's what it looks like at the back. So you want to repeat this same process on the other sides, that's the center front and the other side, which is the side front. So this is what it looks like. Now notice what I am doing. I'm just going to repeat the same process on the other side as well. So when you're doing this, make sure that the distance in between is equal. That's what you want to ensure. So the distance between what you have from the center front to the other side that you're fixing the strand is equal. So you need to measure it and be sure that where you're placing the other strand equals to the placement of the previous strand that you have made. You don't want to make a mistake of doing something that will not look nice and equal. So make sure you measure it out and be sure that each strand measures equally where you are placing them. So this is what it looks like. Continuation, just go ahead and stitch right on your corset. So this is what it should look like when you are done, and this is what it looks like at the back. So this is an explanation of what I talked about. When you're fixing it, make sure that the part that curves inwards, that's this part, make sure that it faces you while you're stitching, and the part that curves outwards is what you're stitching on. If you do it the other way around, this is what you're going to be experiencing on your corset, and trust me, you don't want it. It's not going to relax at all. So avoid that placement when you are sewing your corset. It is very, 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 very important. This is what your corset should look like when you are done stitching, exactly like this. This is what you want to try and achieve. Okay? Not this. Do not forget. It's very, very, very important. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to be working on is the back part of the corset. I'm just going to go ahead to stitch half of an inch side back and the other side as well. So just watch and learn. The next thing I'm going to do is attach my boning. Notice how I'm placing it. I am placing my boning using the part that curves inwards. So I'm placing the part of the boning that curves inwards right on my fabric, and I'm going to be stitching right on the boning. Do not turn it the other way around. Make sure that the part that faces or curves inwards is the part that you are stitching to the fabric. You don't want to make a mistake of doing it the other way around. If not, if you do that, the back of your corset is not going to look really nice. It's going to be looking bulky and pointed because the boning was not fixed properly. So make sure that you do it right and you'll be fine. Check closely, you will see that it is the part of the boning that curves outwards that is facing me as I sew. So that's exactly what you want to achieve while you're stitching. So repeat the same process on the other side as well. Ensure that when you are stitching that you leave a sewing allowance of half an inch at the top part of your corset and at the bottom part as well. So this is what it looks like when you are done stitching. Remember, there's a sewing allowance just at the top and at the bottom. I did not start stitching my boning right from the top to the bottom. You don't want to do that. Leave a space of half an inch at the top and half an inch at the bottom. The next thing I'm going to do is stitch my side front and side back together and use my lining to turn both my side front and side back. So just watch and you understand exactly what I'm doing. Basically sandwiched my front and back together and used the lining to turn both front and back inside, just like so. So repeat the same process on the other side of your corset. So once you have stitched both three fabrics together, which is your lining, the net, that's your front, and the back of your corset, the next thing you want to do is attach your boning to the side of your corset. Ensure again that you leave a sewing allowance of half an inch at the top and at the bottom, because you're going to be stitching other things there and you don't want your boning obstructing while you stitch. So if it is longer, trim it a bit and then use it on your corset. So I'm going to trim the sewing allowance of 1 inch because if I use it, it's going to be very, very bulky and I do not want too much bulk in the corset. So I'm trimming it by half of an inch. So that's what you want to do. I'm working with half of an inch right now. So once you are done, attach your boning to the side of your corset, just like so. When you're placing your boning, ensure that it is also the part that curves inwards that you are stitching to the fabric. The part of the boning that curves outwards should face you, while the part that curves inwards should be placed on the fabric and stitched. So this is what it's going to look like at the outer part of your corset and the inner part as well. So you want to repeat the same process on the other side of your corset. So when you are done, this is what you should have, or this is what you should look like. Your lining is going to be used to turn your corset inward so that it will look really nice and neat, and this is what it looks on the outer part as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is use my velvet part of my fabric to stitch on the topmost part of my corset. So the top part of your corset, you're going to finish it off using a strip. I think I cut about a 2-inch strip, and I'm going to be using it to turn in the top part of my corset. So I'm stitching using 1/2 inch sewing allowance. So use your boning as well. We're going to be adding the boning at the top part of the corset. So before you turn it, finally just stitch your boning or the sewing allowance that you just created. Ensure that when you're placing your boning, you leave a little bit of allowance, about 1/2 inch at the start and about 1 inch at the end, and ensure that when you're placing it, it is the part of the boning that goes inwards, so that you're stitching right on the fabric. It is very, very important. The reason why we are giving a little bit of space is so that we have a loose fabric to fix our cup. You don't want your boning obstructing when you're stitching your cup to the part where there's a cup. So just give that sewing allowance so that you won't have an issue of a hard boning just sticking around the area where your cup should be. A sewing allowance at the end, because that's where we're going to be fixing our loops for our corset. So this is what it should look like when you're done. You want to use the rest of your velvet fabric to finish off the part that you just stitched with your boning. Okay, so do that. Just like so. So go ahead and fold your velvet fabric, which is serving as what you're going to use to turn everything in, and stitch right at the edge of the fabric. Make sure that it is at the edge because it makes it look really nice and neat after you are done. So fold it in just like I'm doing right now and stitch right on the edge of the fabric. When you're done, you should have something like this at the outer part and something like this at the inner part. So repeat the same process for the other side of your corset. Okay, so we are done. The next thing you're going to do is finish off the center front of your corset using the same technique you did for the side front as well. The only difference is that we are not going to be adding any boning to it. So this is what it should look like when you're done. The next thing you're going to do is add our cups to the part where we should add it. That round part of the corset is where we're going to be fixing our cup. So this is what you're going to do, and you will be ready to continue with your corset. But we're going to have another series where I'll show you how to finish it off once and for all. Okay, so repeat this for the other side and attach your cup to it, and in the next series of video I'll be showing you how to add the other parts of your corset to what we've already done currently. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and the next video will show you how to finish up sewing your corset. Till then, bye.